I'm probably turn this
All
down,
right,
and we
and we
are
are.
live. Happy Halloween. We've been kind of like saving this for a minute. Is the topic of dealing with demonic
Like entities,
entities,
vampires,
vampires.
fairies, getting into talks about the ancestors,
hmm
gods, gatekeepers, and
hmm
even talking about polluted ethereal fields. And I don't think as a community, especially a conscious community, we seldomly dive into the real work that that needs to be spoken about
hmm
if you want to have like real serious change, because the veil is so thin when you look at each person. We see people, we speak to them each
hmm
day, we get to become familiar with people, but when we look at change, change can be a thing where I like to call that's the vertical ascension, where if we are becoming more brighter and we're feeling good about our vibrations, about who we are, then we are expanding upwards. But if we're becoming darker and we're becoming denser, then we're going down. And then each level that you go to, it's a dimension, it's a world of people, friends, and associates. How you doing, Jazzy?
Jazzy. We kind of late. We know it. We on color people time, but we're gonna get this done.
And so when you're looking at personalities, we're not seeing the vertical ascension of a person's personality, because there's so many variables that goes into how something is shaped. All right, and so when we look at ourselves as expressions, we're thinking that, hold on, that I'm angry, that okay, I just became angry. Things happen that trigger us to become. Things happen that trigger us to become different beings. So whenever there's a traumatic experience in someone's life and it was negative, then guess what? You go to a lower dimension of yourself if you haven't healed from that, and then you experience all these different aspects of yourself that reflects to you that you are still hurt, that you're still bruised, all right, until you learn to get over that fear. Just on the flip side of that, if we did something great and we excelled at something, all right, and let's say before, where I was not strong in school and I didn't think I could graduate, but then I graduate, all right. So that's an experience that will propel you past any other experience where you may feel that you may not exceed. So it's like we can take on different dimensions of ourselves, all right. And so when we look at personalities, there's something that goes into the energy that goes into that personality. And this is where I feel like, when we get into demons and we get into.
I just want to mention, out of 10 people, 3 people usually have demonic possession and don't even know it. And a lot of times you think it's you, and it could be somebody else. It could be something else that's attached to you that, like you said, is forming through a thought. And sometimes it is as you attract those things. You attract those things when you're open. And a lot of people are experiencing this now lately, where it's a thin veil within people. And now that we're here at Halloween, which between the earthly realm and the spiritual realm is open, so it's thinner. That's why people have the Day of the Dead, where they could communicate with their ancestors. They could communicate with that. So let's understand that although it's heavenly, that opening is heavenly, it's also demonic too. It could be dark and light coming through this portal right about now. And these things probably have always been around, but they're now manifesting themselves even faster and even more.
Yeah, because the thoughts become things. And so, when we look at this reality and some of the horrific, things that, are manifested through our sick, perverted minds that create, or because we're consistently creating things. Right. And so when we create in those lower realms, these entities, they can actually take form. They can become a thing. And so this reality feeds it. It feeds these things, this energy of whatever. Just like if when we talk about gang violence, right? If it was never shown in different countries, do you think it would be manifested, right? Do you think kids would be born like just straight up born gangsters? No, somehow the thought form was created in a different place. Someone else saw it, liked the idea, and created the same idea.
And you could create this can be created with your children, what they're watching. They're watching these scary movies, and it's getting into their subconscious. So that's why I say to parents, talk to your children. Ask them about their dreams, because when you don't ask them about it, they could probably be in the lower dimensions when they're saying, I'm seeing zombies, or a monster's chasing me, or there's the boogeyman. There could really be some things wrong that are coming through to your child that you are unaware of.
Yeah, so it's like now, you know, in the days of Egypt, and this is why they had it where the people did not speak. You know, everything that they said, the people were so telepathic that they could just think, and they didn't have to use words to really communicate. And so now when you start to understand that words is it's the very essence of magic itself. And when we put emotions and true intentions behind it, you know, we're really about to cast something out of ourselves, of something that we're hoping to be, manifested in reality. You know, everything, I don't think we speak for things not to happen. You say, hey, give me some peanut butter. I don't think we just, we talk with purpose. So that's my whole intention, that we say things because we mean things. We want them for them to manifest something for us. So it's like, now if you could just take that small concept and say, well, on a magical level, when we start to project great emotions, right, we connect ourselves with things, right? So it's like, if I want to aspire to be great, right, at first I got to find examples, right? I just can't start being great. I have to look at examples. Then I have to start being whatever that great is.
It makes me think about costumes. Like on Halloween, everybody dresses in as people they want to be, or what they want to look like, or what they want to portray. You'll be an entertainer, or you'll be a monster, or you'll be an ex-murderer, or little girls dress up as princesses. These are archetypes that you're putting on. But you don't know that the more that you take on this thought process, or you put the costume on, you start to become it. So Halloween is just a big manifestation for people to do it out in the open. And we really should be doing this in our present lives, but really not just faking it until you make it, but actually becoming it and taking the time to master that. But during Halloween, you could be any damn thing, and you could be attracting anything when you're doing it. I have nothing against Halloween, but I think you need to be conscious and always mindful and aware of what you are doing and what you are taking part of. I did want to go into also with these things, that soul fractures and how you can see them on the face. And a lot of people's soul fractures are coming up, or their shadows or their darkness that they have not been able to deal with. And we just recently dealt with a young lady that was hearing voices not just hearing voices, but hearing one voice in a different language when she was trying to pray. So when we talked to her, we was telling her it could be an entity. It could be, more than likely an entity or an ancestor. We don't know. We like for you to come and get the Darshan blessing. So she comes in, and when Rael was doing the Darshan blessing, she went under and she did let out some things, and she did start to cry. But there was that one moment where she was really peaceful and she was quiet, and she could hear her grandmother, and her grandmother started speaking to her, and her grandmother gave her a message for her and her sister. And it was a beautiful thing, because really what was going on is that she was kind of hearing that Charlie Brown language, womp, 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 because we have blocks within us, darkness within us that needs to be lifted out. And there was one time where Rob was lifting out whatever could have been in her, any entities, any darkness that was in her, by putting the light in that light on her, and it opened her up like a clear channel. So it's like a radio station. Here you start hearing it, you're like, I can hear it, but it's, and that's how she was hearing her grandmother. She was probably hearing in that Latin or that weird distorted language, but once her chakras were cleared up, she could hear, and she heard her grandmother, and she got the message that she needed. Sometimes we are just not tuned into the right frequency, and we can't hear our ancestors on the other side. We can't hear our guides on the other side. You have guides, depending on what you have to do. You have a certain amount of guides. You have your ancestors that are there for you. You have the angelic guidance there for you.
And this kind of gets into, I get some of the other ideas on there: gatekeepers, gods, and demonic entities, and pretty much is just like when we manifest lower entities in us, we have to start doing a thing, take on a behavior. There's something that we have to do to ignite this thing to take hold or to somehow blend itself within your personality. So, because eventually, over time, it can take over your whole thought form. All right, and the people won't even realize that the entity has already taken hold, all right, of the body and is now functioning as you. I mean, when we look at the Nutty Professor and Buddy Love, all right, and the Nutty Professor and Buddy Love wanted to take over the vessel. That's exactly how it works, all right. And so demonic entities over time want to become you. The fight for you, the veil is so thin that you couldn't even notice the difference if it was you, because the idea is that you have to be the supreme observer and judge of self and to grade yourself when you're being wrong or when you're being bad. And if you're in that whole egoic mode, right, where you're just really moving linear, when you're not really having any introspection of yourself, all right, you're not going to monitor when you could be taking on different energies, and you're not going to be honest enough with yourself to identify, like, hold on, something's different. I am angry with people. Whenever this subject come up about broken relationships, I don't want to hear about it. I want to fight his ass. I hate that, boop, right? And so this energy takes over the personality, and you start becoming the very and then the people don't even know. They be like, wow.
She's a bitch all the time.
Geraldine is acting a little funny lately. She's been tripping. And you don't even know the entity could have entered you when you were at your lowest, when your heart was broken and you were at your lowest, an entity slipped right on in, right? And just lay dormant and just waiting. And then what happens is once the entity wants to take hold of you, right? Every time that you give off negative energy, that entity is trying to work within your vibration, but somehow, it comes out as friction.
Sometimes you'll know it even more when you're drinking. Like, what they call it, spirits. So when you're drinking, sometimes it'll come out and you'll see it in people. You may not be aware of it, but sometimes people's chemistry, and depending on your astrology sign, you don't mix too well. You shouldn't be drinking. Some people should not drink. It brings out demonic entities inside of you, and you want to start fighting and cussing and fussing. And then the next day, you're like, I don't remember I did that. You could have hit somebody, did anything, and not even remember a damn thing. Because why? Because the entity has possessed the vessel. Yeah.
And over time, what happens is that entity will start to take things out of your life, make certain good friends who are like your people who you could talk to, you can talk to. That entity will push all those things out of your life, and if you still in your ego, all right, you will think that it was okay to say that to that person because that's the way you were feeling at the time, right? And so eventually, when that entity push all these people out of your life, it's just you by yourself in your own home by yourself, and eventually over time, that entity is going to take over the mind because that person becomes dormant within their feelings and dormant within their thoughts. And then eventually they lose purpose and wants to live. And then guess what? The entity is now one. It now wants to take full, and now that this person just sits there angry and mad and just in a dark ass room in a house doing something that they don't really like to do in their life. And everywhere they walk, you think it's them, but it's the entity who just hawking and spitting at people that they don't like and harking over old shit all day long. So I'm talking about this entity because that's what happens with the person, right? And so that's when we look at that negative when you go down. But there is a way that when you're trying to climb up and you want to attract angelic entities, gods, body Buddhas, all certain goddesses, certain energies and essences. It's the same idea. If you want to attract this energy, this God to embody you have to almost like kind of embody, but become the very expression essence of it to see if it'll come and into you and now work within you. So it's like you got to attract these things to want to work with you. And that takes
being fully conscious and aware of yourself and being always aware of yourself. Like
exactly, Mara said.
I was talking to our son who is dealing with anxiety attacks, and I'm saying anxiety, and even me dealing with anxiety, it can bring on a dysfunction, it can bring on an entity, and you be paranoid as fuck about different things. You need to ground yourself and do things always. This is definitely a time to get in your spiritual practices. If you are not meditating, meditate. If you are not doing any type of grounding practices and knowing to be present and to ground your energy when you're feeling shaky or you're feeling off, you need to learn to do that and get heavily into it, because we're in a time where, like I said, that veil is thin and it's thin within. And then you're dealing with people. You're dealing with people and you're exchanging energy with them. So when you're exchanging this energy with them, their essence is coming on you. So you could, if they say,
it's like the perception is so thin that if you're not paying attention to those person's eyes and you're not seeing the certain flinches, the impulses that's naturally happening, you don't notice a thing, because it's like our minds have been so dulled down by TV and nature itself that we don't know how to judge those impulses and to see those subtle changes, to see when these entities are working within people, because they're not the same people. They've dulled down our mind to believe that, hold on, the stuff that we see on TV, like that type of stuff, is only on TV. It don't happen in real life.
You have real life succubus, you have real life incubus, you have real life vampires, you have real life fairies, elves. You know, you have all these type of Elohim people that are here present. And you can see by just looking at certain parts on the face and the eyes that they are who they are.
Oh, thank you.
But you know who they are. You know that they're present.
And this is the idea, is that you got to start getting used to looking at the essence of people.
Right.
And starting to kind of remember that there is a magical kingdom. There's certain people who look like fairies, and you see them on the street. You're like, God damn, she still looks so young. And why she moves so much? And her ass like working. She just don't know how to stop, right? It's because they carry a certain essence. And just like we have different aspects of ourselves, this is not the only form that we came in. There's another form like me that could be smaller, different version. There's many different versions of ourselves.
So we have the parallel universe.
Yeah, there's many different versions, and that's the idea, is that you want to become the clearest and the purest one by attracting the God version of that self that you possess, right? Because everyone else they're at their energetic state, they have their essence, but to achieve godly essence, all right, is to become the purest, the most purified form of all the versions of the self that came out that look like you. Because if you think you're the only person who look like you crazy.
You know what? I just want to go on this of talking about ancestors. And a lot of people don't understand the rules of ancestors, is that I have ancestors present. He has ancestors present. So when you do some harm to each other, the ancestors are always having to have sit down and work out things. So if we start being mindful of our ancestors have to deal with our shit that we're doing here on Earth, we might start treating each other a lot better than what we are now. And we'll probably be more mindful and have some more integrity and morale when we deal with each other, because we'll be like, is this disrespectful to my ancestors? Because not only are demonic things watching you, there's ancestors.
And there's ancestors, angelic forces, there's gods, there's all these beings. But the thing is, these beings is not going to allow you to take on their energy if you do not embody the energy. If you're not a person who's living by that true purpose and understanding, or you've done the research, these entities or these gods or spirits, whatever, they're not going to want to take or work within your dwelling. And so that's the thing, is that when you're purified, when you're a pure vessel, right, when you live in a good life and you've done good to people and you've done right to people, all right, and you want to do right for the world, right, then you start to attract these higher gods and these higher abilities. Because the thing is, if you want more power, the power ain't for you. The power is for you to give to others, right? And so that's the idea of finding the genie in the lamp, is that it's symbolical of finding a holy person in the desert, in his poverty, right? But he has to work within this lamp, because he's given a vow, right? This is what he has to serve, all right? And whomever shall find that lamp, all right, can make these wishes, all right? And so that's what a holy person does, is that they've allowed themselves to become that,
and
a blessing.
You're more than just this body. And I did want to show y'all this book. It's Crystal Ascension. But I just wanted y'all to show you this, is that you're more than just this flesh. You have different bodies, right? So you're like you have a whole little spaceship. You have a whole frequency around you. And I was just showing my son this to let him understand that you are more than just this body. that you vibrate out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what are you letting out? What are you letting come in? Because we have a thing of, I don't know if y'all heard of what a walk-in is. But usually what a walk-in, what happens is that sometimes the spirit doesn't want to stay in the body, and it feels like it cannot do the job that what it was sent to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because before you come to earth, you do choose what you're here to do. That's a little thing that we need to go on. Ascension chart. If you haven't got one, get one. But you choose, and you come down here, but sometimes spirits don't want to, so they leave, and another spirit can step in.
Mm-hmm.
When that spirit steps in, sometimes they can bring back entities. And we did deal with a lady. We did an exorcism. I was now on his third exorcism.
Mm-hmm.
Exorcisms
Get
happen.
kinda good at it.
Exorcisms happen differently. Sometimes the spirit, the demonic possession, may be that they come out a little bit quicker. Sometimes they don't, and they want to hold on. And they usually do like to hold on to children. And then sometimes it's just that you had some blocks from trauma, even in relationships of a man or a woman doing some harm to you. You can have some blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And even when it shows up as an STD and you get it from somebody else, that is an entity within. It is a part of that. It's hitting your root in your sacral chakra. All illnesses usually are formed in the spine of the back. They go through the stomach and hit your IM, and they can hit your root.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have to protect these fields in your body, or you can be attacked. So you can do it in different ways with like spiritual baths, visualization, prayer, constantly being in some type of spiritual practice to protect yourself.
Yeah.
But this is a good book, and then I'm sure there's plenty of more information out there.
And there's just to kind of go into that as far as just the many different cells of us, we have to be like conscious of our ethereal field, right? And this is a whole different idea that I don't think people really talk about it unless you really deal with, work in the spiritual realm where you are dealing with dark entities and probably battling. Some of you are spiritual warriors. Some of you may even see yourself doing things in the spiritual realm, like shanking people and doing things that you probably, but there are some spiritual warriors who are living in certain places and they live great lives. They're great people, all right? They speak good to others, all right? And the thing is that they have to uphold the highest frequency in these dark areas because their frequency, their light, is doing something etherically. It's helping the ethereal field of someone's spreading good vibes. So that's another work. When you hear somebody's doing the great work, they're not standing in one place. They're going to many different places, and their vibrations is taking on the darkness itself and is removing it. So real spiritual worlds are doing that.
Right.
But to get on to gatekeepers. Gatekeepers are people what they call portals. And when you meet certain gatekeepers, their wisdom, all right, is that their wisdom opens a new reality to you, right? That means that once you enter their gates, right, whatever they're teaching you, all right, is going to give you a new reality, right? So that's the idea, is that when you see people saying we're going to go to the pearly gates, all right, the symbolical heaven. I don't want to take anyone's great vision of heaven off because there is the heavenly idea, and I've seen, but it's not pearly gates. It's a little different, much bigger idea than what people even think it to be, right? But on earth, you have to enter these gates on earth, all right? And it means that once you evolve to a certain level of intelligence, all right, you're considered to be a sovereign soul, fully aware of myself. I'm aware of my neighbor. All right, and I'm aware of what I'm here to do on this planet. So it's like, we're all coming into this knowledge. And this is what I tell people, that if you want to win the race, right, you have to find those people who are gatekeepers. And that's what me and Hathor, when we tell people that we teach people the all-seeing eye, right, that means that once you come into this wisdom and this understanding, right, the knowledge itself is going to open a new reality of how you see the world itself.
You'll never see the same again.
Right. So that's what that means. And so once you learn that you come into that wisdom, it allows you to inherit some of those blessings, because guess what? Those people you helped are people who are here to service.
I think it helps you to better see entities a lot clearer, because a lot of times with knowing the all-seeing eye, it'll help you track people's patterns, especially with your children. Be like, that he don't usually do that. he don't usually act like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were certain telltale signs that will start showing you that a person is definitely dealing with demonic possession, and you don't need to wait for it. You don't need for them to smoke something. You don't need for them to drink something. You're watching them on point. You're like, something ain't right. You're a little bit off. And there's ways you can be able to tell and see what's going on. But I did want to get a little bit into how do you know if you're having some type of demonic possession or you're an entity possessed. And one would say is that how do you keep your household? Like, how do you keep your house? Do you open up the windows? Do you let light in, or do you like to be in the dark? You know, your energy levels. Are you usually feeling drained? Are you feeling depressed easily? Are you feeling thoughts that you probably won't normally think or say? You have to really start being aware of self. And do you get anxiety easily? Are you fidgety? These are things where it's showing that you're not all the way balanced within yourself, and you're not all the way in your body. And then there's different things. If you know something is present, demonic possession of ghosts is that usually will smell a stench. It can be of urine in a certain area. In the house, a strong smell. Any strong smells of ammonia-like smell, urine, or even a deep perfume. I remember when my great-grandmother was walking around, and that was one of my first times I ever seen a ghost. I smelled a strong stench of perfume. I didn't know where it was coming from, but that's when I had that first time that happened to me. I had many other times where it happened to me. I'm able to see those things. I'm sure many other people have that ability as well, to see into the spiritual realm and see ghosts, to see dead people, to hear it. You can sometimes hear things and not even know that it's your voice, but we have to be more aware. We'll be like, that ain't my voice. That's not me. And you have to know these things so you can be able to get help.
I think ways to kind of help you kind of get into that awareness is for one, practicing meditation, right? I mean, for one, it's like you got to understand your natural resting state. It's just like a lie detector test. I got to know what I feel like, and I got to know what's peace for me. You got to really record and say, what's peace to me? Why do I really like to feel like myself? Okay, I feel peaceful when I wake up. Okay, I know when I feel like when I'm happy. Okay, I'm mad. What makes me mad? Why do I get mad so easy?
How mad do you get?
How mad am I get? Why do I exhaust a lot of energy when this thing happens? All right, when you start to know that you exhaust a lot of negative energy, all right, that's why these entities, you know, you get close.
How far does the anger go? Because it could be like, damn, I'm mad. But is it that thought where I could stab that nigga in his sleep? Or I could clock him upside his head and bust his head. Right, or bust his head to the white meat. If you are thinking about that, possibly there could be something dwelling around, because we shouldn't get to that type of anger where you want to really do some killing type of thing to somebody. So we just got to be aware. Pull that up. I don't know how you do that. But if y'all have any questions, definitely ask us about it. If you really feel like something may be in your home, sometimes even through dreams. I wanted to do something cool tonight. What can I do and still be safe? I think this is what you can do. I always say, since the veil is thin and your ancestors are around, cook something, play music, give a party to your ancestors. Talk to them. Light white candles. Usually white candles and purple candles deal with the higher spirits, angelic guides. Call upon them. Ask them for protection. Ask them to be in the homes. You can set up an altar. You can put up their pictures. Do something like, hey, my grandfather likes spaghetti. He likes cigars. He likes a cup of rum. Put that out there, because really within that spiritual realm, all you have to do is think about them. And and that's it, really. But the beautiful thing is, if you're putting out some flowers for them that they love, they see that. They know that. So I would say give homage and give love to your ancestors today. And they'll be a part of you and they'll protect you. And also, I'm just like, it's a side note. Y'all need to get that what is it, Rose of Jericho?
Rose of Jericho.
Rose of Jericho. Get that in your home. Believe me, it'll open up all types of things for you. So if you have any more questions or y'all have any comments, please, respond below. We may do a little bit more about the entities and the difference between a ghost and everything else. But we do have a special Halloween. We have a Halloween special. It's only for today. You can talk to us about dreams, personal issues, anything for 20 minutes, $15. I think that is a good deal. And it's only for Halloween. And then you can book later. It doesn't have to be on Halloween. You can just book, but you have to do it today.
And my last bit of advice is just know that we're reaching energetic, times in our life where the energy is only going to keep increasing, right? So let's not think that the vibration is getting higher, right? And so that means that those dimensions, those high dimensions, the people who are been doing work in those high dimensions, you're going to start to see that which is up high, that ruled up high, is going to manifest down low. So you're going to see that flip. You're going to see that energy. You're going to see those spiritual warriors and people, who's here to kind of guide this new world into this new age where we are more aware of ourselves. So it's like, that's the only thing I can really say. It's like I just want people to be aware,
and that people be aware of that. A lot of people are going to start having health issues because with this shift going up, a lot of people's body will not be able to take the shift.
Density, just like
so if you're starting to feel certain things, it may not just be that it's health issues. It's more spiritual. You can look at the book. You can heal yourself by Louise Hay. She has a book where she's talking about different things, like if you had a heart attack or you have certain things with your vision or anything that's wrong with you, any ailments, she's telling you that it's something spiritually that you are dealing with that you have not conquered. So, and also I did want to say the last thing is come and get a Darshan blessing. It's a donation. You never know, even if you don't think you have any entities present in you. I really think it's a good way to get your chakras going, remove blocks.
You have no clue. But it's like once you understand what the blessing is, then you'll understand why you need it. But I look at it this way: if you haven't did the homework and you haven't did the research, then it's not for you. I just put it that way because it's a blessing for those people who've done the work and they understand how valuable it is and what it means to
this
their
man
life.
could tune you in, and he was able to make a woman a medium for a few minutes. She was open to talk to her grandmother. So
and everybody's experience is different.
Everybody's experience is different.
They have the entity in yours. I don't know.
But that he's humble about it. But that was some amazing stuff right there, and it's able to go down. We usually do it in this room with the Black Buddha, but I think that's all.
So we'll leave it with that.
All right.
Leave it with that. Peace out, y'all.
Peace.